Hello and namaste. I am Harshala and I welcome you to my channel. Finally, we are wrapping up the month of February. If you have been following me around, you guys already know that in January, like end of January, Ira fractured her foot, and that is when I was also very unwell. So the entire month of February was like about her and me, like both of us getting well or getting back to health. And yeah, that is why I did not read much. I did not like even pick up one single book, physical book. I only read on Kindle Unlimited. I actually read 10 books in the month of February, but we are like going to skip one because that is like just not worth our time, and talk about the 9 books that you might consider reading if you guys like the tropes. So let's begin with the first book. In the month of January, I came across a new author called Julia Wolf, and I read her book P.S. You Are Intolerable. And that book was a part of series, and it was the book 3. And I just like one of my favorite YouTubers like recommended it and like gave it like 4.5 or 5 stars. So I was like intrigued and I read that book first, and then I decided like in February that I like continue the series chronologically. So the first book in the series, The Harder They Fall, is called Dear Grumpy Boss. I know the name sounds cringe, but trust me, the book is not that bad. In fact, the book is really good. So let me like tell you the tropes. So the tropes here are grumpy into sunshine, brother's best friend, billionaire, and office romance. So Weston is our main guy, and Elise or Ellie is the main female character. Our main female character is curvy, and she is like running away from her now ex-boyfriend. Like in 24 hours she like escapes to another state, like a different state, and comes back to her base where her brother is, where like she grew up. And that is when she starts working for our guy Weston, who is best friend of Elise's brother Elliot, who was the main character of the book P.S. You Are Intolerable, the book that is book 3. So yeah, Ellie and Weston are like when they were teenagers, like they do get attracted to each other, but because they have this common ground, who is Elliot, they don't want to like affect their relationship, like Elliot's relationship with either of them, and that is why like they do not act on their impulses. And because our main female character is curvy, she does go through bullying. So yeah, that is one trigger warning that I want to give you. Like her weight is something that she was bullied for, and one of the future main characters like in this series is one of her bullies. And that is about it. So talking about their chemistry, the chemistry was there, but most of the time like they treat each other like utter trash, like kachre jaisa they treat each other, which was like not something that I expected. Like after reading like P.S. You Are Intolerable, I had like high expectations, but considering this is like the first book in the series, I understand it is not like that great. It gets a good 3 stars from me. So yeah, it is like not the best book that I have read, but it is not the worst book I have read as well. So if you are like interested in the entire series, I will recommend that like start with this book, because I started with the third book, like most of the fun was like ruined for me. Moving on to the second book that I read the second book or the book 2 from the same series, and it is called Sincerely Your Inconvenient Wife. Yeah, that is what it's called. And our main characters are Luca and Saoirse. So this book again gets a 3 star from me, and the tropes are marriage of convenience, office romance. Our main male character is a motorcyclist, and he is like a billionaire who has like started his own sportswear brand, and they make different stuff as well. And our main female character Saoirse has been like, you can call her a hippie. She is like someone who never settles down, who has been like constantly traveling, and she randomly like decides to start this job at Lucas company, a marketing job. And like that is the first job that she has held, like a proper office job. And our main male character is overly possessive and alpha, and our main female character is sassy. Okay, Saoirse's character is amazing. I have to mention that Julia Wolf writes strong female characters rarely, very rarely. Like I have read so many of her books, like I'm in May. Like May is about to end tomorrow, and I've read so many of her books, and I have to like tell you guys, like she writes good books, okay, and her female characters are not cringe, not bechari, and not weak. She writes very strong female characters, and she knows, okay, what she's doing with her characters. Her characters are really good. Exceptions are there, but even then the characters turn out to be good. So I have to mention this specifically. Like Saoirse comes from a different background, and her parents are like divorced. Her mother is like, I think she's a mayor or some politician, and her father is like running a ranch. And oh my god, if you are into cowboy romance, you have to like read this book, because if you don't read this book, I don't know, like there is another book that is connected to this series, and that series came out first, okay, and then this series was written. But I will like suggest you that you read this series first, The Harder They Fall first, and then read the Savage You series. In their book, like Sincerely Your Inconvenient Wife, there is like this scene where Saoirse like goes to her father's place, their ranch, and there her brother Locke and her sister-in-law Elsa, oh my god, Elsa and Locke, I just like read about them in this book, and I instantly like wanted to read their book, like instantly. But I like made sure to like finish this book first, and this book, like I said, gets like a good 3 stars from me. And it is a very nice book. I will not say very good book, it is a nice book, and I think like the series is decent. And if you are into like billionaire romance, you should definitely check this series out, The Harder They Fall by Julia Wolf. Then, because as I told you, I wanted to read Locke and Elsa's story, I obviously knew the first mistake that I did like with this author was like read one of her books like from the middle, like the third book I read first. So this time when I picked up the Savage You series from this author, I knew that I wanted to start with the first book, and the first book in the series is Soft Like Thunder. Oh my god, I have read so many romances, dark romances even, and I have not came across such a vibrant, such a strong, such a bold female character. The female character's name in Soft Like Thunder is called Helen, and our main guy is called Theo. And like instantly I fell in love with Helen's character. I don't care if the book is like cringe, or if you find the book like to be a 3-star or a 4-star. The characters in this entire series, like Savage University is another series by the same author, which I have also read, but I think I read that in March. So Savage You series, all the main characters, like female characters, are so strong, like stronger than the Harder They Fall series. And Helen's character like is like chef's kiss. I want to like, if I ever get a chance to meet Julia Wolf, I want to like know her thought process behind thinking about such great characters. You won't believe, like this is a enemies to lovers romance, and Theo is like a sunshine here, and it is a reverse grumpy into sunshine, and Helen is like grumpy. And the first time she meets our guy Theo, like he's with his friends, and he does not like kind of he does not misbehave with her, but his friends does. And Helen literally chases them out with her baseball bat or some bat, and she like trashes their कार का मिरर नहीं क्या होता है, glass, yeah, the windshield. She like trashes it. I absolutely loved Helen's character. Like throughout the book, she has this one bat by her bedside, and she is not scared, okay. Obviously there were things that happened to her in her past, like that have made her strong, made her who she is, but I absolutely love her character. She does get like beaten in one of the later chapters, but I have to say that I absolutely love this character, Helen. And let me tell you what they call each other. So Helen calls Theo, his name is just Theo, okay, but she calls him Theodore, and Theo calls Helen Little Tiger. So apt, like so freaking apt. And Oh my god, it is the most adorable book couple that I know of. Like, after Max and Taris and Tisana, Theo and Helen like have a permanent place in my heart, and I definitely know it. The fourth book that I read is called Hunted by a Shadow by Michelle Hurd. It is like, I think, third or fourth book in her new series. I forgot the name of the series. I will like share the name on the screen somewhere. And I have to say, like, so far I have disliked every single book in this series. I think it is because books written by Neva Altaj are like mafia romances written by Neva Altaj have like raised my standards like tenfolds, and I just don't like mafia romances these days. Yeah, coming back to Hunted by a Shadow, I have written like something, and I just want to read it out to you guys, because I think this like just conveys what I want to share. So I have read like 18 of Michelle Hurd's books, and I have to say, by far this is the weakest book in terms of characters and chemistry. The chemistry was so cold, and the main characters had a personality of cardboard. Like, literally, these are my words. This is my Goodreads review. The story and the plot had so much potential, like so much. Okay, so the tropes here are like captive kind of, and our main guy is like a grumpy, and our main female character is the sunshine. The story and the plot had so much potential, but the mention of like a little mouse like felt so forced. Like, Renzo was like trying to be Zaid. If you have read like Haunting Adeline series, or the mouse, I forgot the name, like Haunting Adeline, mouse and what, cat and mouse duet. Yeah, in one of like her previous series, Dimitri and Ariana, yeah, Ariana's story was like my favorite, and that was also like a captive situation, and that was like my favorite book. And it was like such a well written book, and the entire it is like 1:30. I don't know if you can hear, like my neighbors like just came back home. Just ignore if you heard the noise. Yeah. So Dimitri and Ariana's story was like my favorites, and after experiencing that story and that book by this author, I have to say, like, Michelle Hurd can do much better, but I don't know why she has been like constantly writing cringe shit. The only thing that kept me hooked in this new series is like the Mafia Kings. All the, I think, 3 or 4 books that I have read in this series, the bond between the Mafia Kings is the only thing that like kept me hooked. Like, the friendship that they share, the brotherhood that they share is the only thing that I liked, and that is why I kept reading, because I wanted to know like where this goes. Yeah, that is Hunted by a Shadow for you. I gave it a 2 stars. Yeah, there is not much to say. The 5th book that I read is again from Julia Wolf, and it is from the Savage You series. It is the book 2 in the Savage You series called Bright Like Midnight. The reason I told you guys to read in chronological order is because right from the book 1, all the characters are introduced. Like, this series like is my favorite from the author. After Helen and Theo, Sadie and Amir's story was like, obviously what got me here was Elsa and Locke, but theirs is book 3, and till I reached there, like, I have loved every single character in book 1. Okay, like, all the characters are mentioned in book 1, and it rarely happens with me. Okay, I have like loved all the characters mentioned in book 1, and though the characters did not turn out what I wanted them to be in their own books, at least in book 1 you get the best of them. And I have to say, like, Bright Like Midnight is about Amir and Sadie, and it is like one of my favorite books. Like, when I was looking forward to the story when I read it in book 1, and I thought that I'm going to like love their book, and the book actually did not disappoint. Amir and Sadie, oh my god, like, this book will like make you swoon so much, like so much. I'll just like give you one little spoiler. They kiss and dance in the rain on one of their dates, and Amir is not okay, he is not your regular boyfriend. Like, he's the grumpiest scum on earth. He is like a goon, and I'll not even call him like someone from mafia. He is just like a goon. वो होते हैं ना रास्ते पर के दादा. He is like that tapori guy, but better. Okay, he does stuff, like he just does stuff that will like make you swoon so much. And the tropes here are like grumpy into sunshine, bully, and I have to mention he calls her mama. Like, oh my god, like the way he calls her when you read it, I have not kicked my feet in the air in so long, but this book, Amir made me do it, okay? Instantly, I was like attracted to Amir's character because one, he was a goon, two, Zadie is the softest human being you will ever meet. But sadly, like when I said, Julia Wolf writes her, female character strong, Zadie is the exception. Like the only thing going about Zadie is like she's sweet. She, like when I said, the personality of cardboard, yeah, like Zadie falls into that category. Like she has no personality other than being sweet and gentle and caring. Like she has no personality of her own. And somewhat, I was disappointed because, as I told you guys, like in book 1 I loved each and every character that was mentioned, and that is the reason like I kept going. What I totally disliked about this book is like there were things that were like just repeated, and this book was like unnecessarily like dragged. Okay, it would have been like finished in good 250-300 pages, but the author like just kept dragging this book and it felt too lengthy for me. And whereas Helen and Theo's book, I was like, oh my god, now they are like a couple and the book just ended. Like this was, I think, yeah, this is the first college kind of romance that I have read. And the thing about college romances is like they end abruptly, and then like there is this time jump after 5-6 years, and like there is this epilogue after 5-6 years, which is like disappointing. Like I like to know where the characters go, and yeah, that just disappointed me. Bright like midnight gets a good 3 stars from me. The chemistry between Amir and Zadie is like so freaking sizzling. So if you are here for the chemistry, and if you can like tolerate a slightly lengthy book which is like not overly exciting or interesting, you should give this entire series a try. The next book that I read from this author was another one of her series. Like I read like the book 4 in, I think, something springs, I think. No, those the seasons change, the series was called, and this was like the book 4. And I was like not interested in the first 3 books because this book 4 was like a single dad romance. And if you know my love for Mikhail, and if you know like Broken Whispers is like one of my favorite books, like I love single dad romances. But this book is not something to talk about. I like gave it what, 2 stars, but I don't want to talk about this book. Like completely totally skip this book. The 7th book that I read is Behind the Net. Like this is the first book from the duo, I think, the Vancouver, or I'm not sure how the city is pronounced. I think it is pronounced Vancouver Storm. Yeah, this is the name of the series. And Behind the Net, let me like tell you guys, like it is one of the cutest books I have ever read. Let me give you the ratings. I gave this book a 4 stars, like a good 4 stars. It is grumpy into sunshine. Like she is his assistant and he is like a boss, but he's an athlete, and I think he plays ice hockey. Yeah, he plays ice hockey. So the main male character is called Jamie and the main female character is called Peepa. And I have to say, like this was like a surprisingly fun book, and I think this is like my first sports romance, like a ice hockey romance, and I strangely like had fun. Okay, it was not difficult to understand at all. The book was funny, like so freaking funny, and there is this character who has like her own book, and it is like Peepa's sister Hazel, and she's so damn hilarious. Like can you imagine like another character, like a different character, making you laugh like giggle and so much more. Like she makes so much sense, and I absolutely like fell in love with her character in book 1 as well. Okay, so the book was everything. It was funny, the chemistry was sizzling, there were, you know, cute moments, and the plot was also surprisingly good. It had all, like it had everything. It was, the tropes are like forced proximity and grumpy into sunshine. And again repeating, I gave it a 4 star. The second book in the Vancouver Storm series is The Fake Out, and if you have read this book, do let me know in the comments, because like both the books are like popular. The Fake Out gets a 3.5 star from me. It was slightly less fun than the Behind the Net, and the main character is called Rory, and the main female character is Hazel, who is also like Pipa's elder sister. Like I said, like Hazel's character made me laugh so much in book 1 that I was looking forward to her book. Sadly, in her own book she was not that fun, okay, because her character was really strong, and you know, the her character had so much depth, but I wish that she made me laugh a little more. But she like kept on her grumpy into like her grumpy personality. And Rory here, like the trope is reverse grumpy to sunshine. Fake dating is also another trope of this book, and he falls first and he falls harder, okay. Also Rory's character, you know, he instantly like caught my attention in book 1, and I was like, oh my god, I need a book for him. I was not aware at that time like Hazel is paired opposite Rory. I thought like Hazel is paired opposite someone else, and I was just like so happy when I, you know, found out that Rory and Hazel are gonna get together. And you know, the characters were amazing, okay. Both the books, the characters were good. All the characters in the book were amazing, but what the characters were, the plot wasn't for in the book too, like The Fake Out. So I just wish the plot had more to it. The last book that I read in the month of February was The Broken Vows. It's the 4th book in the Winster series, and I will have to say like the series is not something that you should read. Like it has been like constantly disappointing, and I just wish that I would have like used my brain and, you know, not read this series. Talking about this book, so Zane and Celeste were like a couple before, and then something happens, and that something is like massive, okay. It is a massive piece of dash, and it just happens, and then, you know, shit like just goes down. And then years later, you know, Zane has been trying to like destroy Celeste and her family's business, and because of, you know, something, they just have to like get married. So it is like a marriage of convenience. They when they, you know, get married, they kind of hate each other, so there is like forced proximity as well, and it is like a grumpy into sunshine. Yeah, and I don't have like much to say. Like the plot was very weak, everything was fine until the best friend like does what she does. There, I said it. I'm not like spoiling the book for you. If you like the series, go ahead and read it. It gets a 2 stars from me. And yeah, that wraps up our month of February. These were all the 9 books that I read. Like I read 10 books, but these are the 9 books that we are going to talk about. So do let me know in the comments below if you have read any books that I have mentioned, and do let me know which books you want me to read. Like I'm looking out for romance books that I can read. Like I am craving a good romance book, probably a dark romance book. Like so far I have finished like all books by Reena Kent, and like one of her last books, God of War, is coming out in June. Like that will be the last book that I will be reading of her. So yeah, I have read like so much of dark stuff that I want like a nice romance book now. Do let me know in the comments below if you have any suggestions. That is it for this video. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up.